Hi guys! So I just finished the TED Talk video of Can Art Amend History by Titus Kaplar. I hope I said his last name correctly. And I think this is one of the best TED Talks I've listened to in quite a while, because mostly when I listen to TED Talks, I feel like I don't really get much out of it because I can't really process it. But this one, I found it intriguing, and for me, I was able to process it a bit more. But other than that, it was a really good video. So I have my notes with me on my screen that I typed it down, and so I list them from 1 to 11. So I'm just gonna talk about them briefly, and I'm going to add a little bit more as I go. So number 1 is, I agree that history often needs to be amended. This is especially true when it comes to African Americans throughout American history. Number 2 is, just as we do with the Constitution, we should amend history when it has been deficient, but we should not cancel the rest of it. I believe that, American history over time has not been inclusive, and I feel like we've tend to cancel huge chunks of our history, and I feel like it's important to look at our history blunt. I feel like we should be blunt about it, and just accept the fact that some terrible situations have happened, and I feel like we should just learn from them. Number 3, Kaplar gave a great example of how in small ways Black history has been ignored. I believe that it's very, very true. For example, with number 4, is in his other example is how his art history professor wanted to skip the chapter on Black art and Black artists, even though she had a student Kaplar, who was interested and wanted to know about it. I felt like this was the most interesting part for me. One of the most interesting parts. This one, and when he made that painting. So with this one, I felt like he had to work harder, or just make his voice. He had to raise his voice, or let himself be heard, in order to study, about his culture, about other Black artists and Black art in general. And the fact that he had to go to his teacher's office, which she kicked him out, went to the deans, and they said nothing about it. I just felt like that was just, it was just a great example of how Black history has been ignored. And I feel like another example, personally, what I want to bring up is that the fact that I feel like a lot of high schools, middle schools, we don't really know much about Black history. For example, I just learned a year ago about Juneteenth, and I feel like we should really mention that and bring that up later in the future. Number 5, in American history, we have mostly focused on the accomplishments of white males. That is very true, but white males have made accomplishments, but we should not ignore them. I feel like we mostly focus a lot on white men in American history, and I feel like we should, change the lens of American history. That's how I like to say it. Number 7, also, we should study white males in other groups. We should also study white males in other groups. We should not ignore their fallings. We always talk about the positives of them, and I feel like we should also show, they have made these mistakes, or they have made these really big, terrible situations, and we should not ignore them. And number 8, however, we cannot ignore the accomplishments of other groups, including Blacks, Hispanics, Asians, women, etc. In addition, number 9, it is important to study the experiences of each group, even when they are not able to speak up and when they are prevented to accomplish great things. Number 10, it is important for everyone in America to understand how they fit into American history and to be honored for their accomplishments. Personally, I feel like we will work better as a group, to understand each other's accomplishments and to be honored for it, and to honor Blacks, Hispanics, Asians, and women throughout history as well. And 11, finally, for how social work fits into this, is It is especially important for social workers to be mindful of the life experiences of each person that they work with, as well as to listen to each person and to be open to understanding their perspective. So, thank you.